We've got some big breaking news. The Dodgers have traded Michael Busch and Yency Almonte to the Chicago Cubs. We'll tell you who they got in return. Was it a good trade for the Dodgers? Was it a bad trade? We're breaking it all down next here on Dodgers Dugout.
It's time for Dodger baseball.
Strike three. Dodgers have won it all in 2020. Mookie Betts cranks it left field.
They're going to make big signings. They're going to make impact trades. I don't care how many times this team rips my heart out. I'll never stop loving the Los Angeles Dodgers. Think blue, bleed blue, and I'm out. Hey, what's going on, Dodgers Nation? Doug McKain here. Friends call me D-Mac, credentialed member of Dodgers Media. Now, if you haven't yet, do me a huge favor and subscribe to the Dodgers Nation YouTube channel, the #1 Dodgers YouTube channel in the game. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, hit that like button, and another reminder that we are doing a giveaway at the moment. We are giving away one brand new number 17 Shohei Ohtani Dodgers jersey, and all you have to do to be eligible for the giveaway is 1, be subscribe to the channel, and 2, comment done down below. So this is for long-time subscribers, this is for new subscribers, and we will give away this jersey when we hit 80,000 subs. We're close to 80,000 subs. It's all thanks to you. And another reminder too, we're doing tons of giveaways this entire season, celebrating you, the Dodgers Nation fans out there, the best in the game. And we're doing jerseys, autographs, tickets to games, and all you have to do to make sure that you're eligible is to be subscribed to the channel. So it's very, very important to make sure you are subbed and also hit that notification bell so you know whenever we're dropping new videos. And as always, I'm always looking for those fire takes. Drop those comments down below. Today's Dodgers Nation question of the day: what is your take on the Dodgers trade Michael Busch, Yency Almonte to Chicago? We'll talk about who they got in return, but do you love the trade? Do you like the trade? Do you hate the trade? I want all your responses. I want your reaction down below. And for all latest Dodgers news, head over to DodgersNation.com. Juan Toribio. Fire up that trade trumpet. The Dodgers have made a trade, sending Michael Busch and Yency Almonte to the Chicago Cubs in exchange for 2 prospects, left-handed starting pitcher Jackson Ferris and outfielder prospect Zyhir Hope. Juan Toribio, he was the first to report on the story early this morning when he tweeted out, hearing Dodgers are working on a trade that will send Yency Almonte to the Cubs. Now, shortly after that, he quote tweeted that with, Dodgers and Cubs are making a bigger deal per source. Former first-round pick Michael Busch is also headed to Chicago. And then ultimately, Jeff Passan tweeted out, full trade, the Chicago Cubs are acquiring third baseman Michael Busch and reliever Yency Almonte from the Los Angeles Dodgers in exchange for a pair of toolsy teenage prospects, left-handed starter Jackson Ferris, and outfielder Zyhir Hope, sources tell ESPN. So it wasn't the trade that a lot of Dodgers fans were expecting with Michael Busch. A lot of them expected him to be traded for an impact player, maybe a closer, maybe a starting pitcher, a Emmanuel Clase, a Shane Bieber, one of those types. But in this situation, you see Michael Busch and Yency Almonte flipped for prospects that aren't on the 40-man roster for the Chicago Cubs. Now, let's break this down. Why did the Dodgers trade Busch and Yency Almonte in the first place? Well, if you look at Michael Busch, this is someone who just did not have a clear-cut role for the Dodgers. He had emerged as one of the Dodgers' top prospects. He's currently their number 2 prospect, according to MLB Pipeline. We know that he can rake at the minor league level. He's got a great hit tool. He has a lot of potential, but he just hasn't had enough opportunities with the Dodgers, and that's for several different reasons. One, LA has had a lot of talent, not a lot of opportunities. Last season, Miguel Vargas, is he opened the year as the Dodgers starting second baseman. Then as the year rolled along, you saw Mookie play second base. You saw Mookie play some shortstop, along with Miguel Rojas getting the lion's share of the shortstop opportunities. And then Michael Busch also played a little bit of third, and then you saw him play in left field at the minor league level towards the end of the season. Now, that really is the biggest reason why Michael Busch didn't get his opportunities, is because he didn't prove himself out to be a quality defender. If he was a better defender, maybe he would have gotten more opportunities. Remember, this is someone who came up and he was playing first base, and we know that there's someone at first base for the Dodgers named Freddie Freeman, so that was never an option. So defensively, there just was never a natural fit for him with this team and this roster. Now, if you look at Busch and how he's emerged at the minor league level, this is someone who, from a hitting potential standpoint, has nothing to prove. He has a 919 OPS in parts of 3 seasons at the minor league level, a 929 OPS in AAA, had an OPS over 1,000 last season, and a little under 1,000 plate appearances. Busch has hit 48 home runs. He's hit 58 doubles. Now, his strikeout rate's nothing to write home about. It's around league average, but he has an 11.8% walk rate. That's very impressive. You've heard about his ability to recognize strikes, his strike zone recognition. He doesn't expand the plate. He sees almost 4 pitches per at-bat. So he can get on base. He can draw walks. He has a great eye at the plate. So he does have the potential to be a 280, 290 hitter at the big league level that can hit you 20-plus home runs. That really is his ceiling, in my opinion. Now, he can also get on base, like I said, because he does take his walks. But the big question with Michael Busch is he a 4A player, or is he an everyday player in the show? Is he someone that can bat in the 2-hole in your lineup on teams around the league, hit 280 to 300, hit 20 to 30 home runs, and be one of the best hitters in your lineup? I think that is his ceiling, the best case scenario, but the reality is he just hasn't proven that yet. He is an unproven commodity, and that's no fault of his own, right? He's got limited opportunities with the Dodgers, but even in those opportunities, it's not like he raked at the big league level. And it's an extremely small sample size. You can't take too much away from it. But in 27 games with the Dodgers last season, he slashed 167, 247, 292. He had 2 home runs, had a 49 weighted runs created plus, so he was 51% below league average in his opportunities. And also the strikeout rate ballooned. He had a 33.3% strikeout rate in the show last season. That was almost a third of his at-bat. So if you're Michael Busch, you want to reduce that number. But like I said, you can't take too much away from a small sample size. This is someone who needs 500 to 1,000 plate appearances to really give him a fair assessment and evaluate what he can do at this level. I'm still a big believer in Michael Busch, but the reality is he was blocked on the Dodgers, second base, third base. It just wasn't going to happen for him. The writing was on the wall a few weeks ago when Andrew Friedman said that he didn't belong in AAA, and he's someone who's 26 years old, and he absolutely deserves this opportunity. So for some, yeah, you're probably upset a little bit about losing Michael Busch. You probably want to see more in return. You probably are out there saying, look, D-Mac, they probably should have traded him earlier. Yeah, you could make that case, but at the end of the day, I'm happy for Michael Busch. I've talked to him tons of different times, and what I can say about him is he's a hard worker. He's got great character, comes from a great family. He's an athlete. He played multiple sports, football. He went to North Carolina. He was a Tar Heel. So he's got great mental makeup, and he's been biding his time and waiting for his opportunity, and he's going to get that with the Chicago Cubs, and I hope it works out for him. But I also think there's a world where, look, maybe he wasn't going to work out for the Dodgers too, and you traded for some prospects that could end up being better players than Michael Busch one day. So we'll get into those guys in a few seconds here, but now let's talk about Yency Almonte. So Yency Almonte, he agreed to a contract with the Dodgers a few weeks ago. He avoided arbitration, and a few years ago, he was the guy that really was a bright spot for LA. He was their next discovery, right? He was another find for the Dodgers, another successful reclamation project coming from Colorado to LA. He completely ditched that four-seam fastball. I talked to Yency about this, and he told me that really was one of the biggest keys that unlocked him, is just ditching that four-seam fastball, going with that two-seamer, going with that sinker. And in 2022, he was lights out for LA. He posted a 1.02 ERA. He was really one of the Dodgers' more dependable relievers that season. Of course, in Game 4 of the NLDS, he gave up that hit to Hassan Kim. Did the Padres break Yency Almonte? I'm not so sure about that, but for whatever reason, he just didn't have the same year in 2023 as he had in 2022, and really it wasn't even close. He posted a 5.06 ERA, and really the big difference was he was still very effective with that sweeper. It was really one of the best sweepers in baseball. He had a 4-run value. It was 21st in Major League Baseball. It accounted for 87% of his strikeouts, but the effectiveness of his sinker and his changeup, it completely fell apart. If you look at his sinker, opponents hit 294 off it. They hit 300 off his changeup. He didn't have that same movement. He wasn't locating it as well. And he did make an adjustment, though. He ended up ditching that changeup and completely abandoning that pitch, and he saw better results. He had a 9 ERA in his first 19 appearances, had 10 walks and 13 strikeouts. But following the All-Star break, he posted a 2.70 ERA in 30 innings of work across 30 games. So he was turning the corner, and he made that adjustment, but it was clear that he just wasn't the same guy, and it really just speaks to the volatility of bullpen pieces. So maybe this year you get Evans year, Yency Almonte, and he goes back to being Yency Almonte and has success with the Chicago Cubs. But the reality is he was never going to be DFA'd by the Dodgers, but he was always someone that you could see as a potential trade candidate. Maybe you see Vesia as a trade candidate as well, because if you look at the depth of this bullpen with J.P. Feyereisen returning, with Blake Trinan possibly returning, don't forget they signed Daniel Hudson to a minor league deal. I do believe they are going to acquire another reliever at some point, especially if you could get Josh Hader if he falls into your lap. I think really what the Dodgers are doing right now when it comes to the reliever spot is they're waiting. They're waiting to see if they could get Josh Hader at the right price. It was mentioned in Bob Nightingale's piece a few days ago that he thinks that the Dodgers could realistically acquire him. And the longer this gets, the better you have to feel if you're the Dodgers, because the reality is it's not going to be a lot of $100+ million contracts out there. If you're Josh Hader, the Dodgers could make a ton of sense. And with what they've done this offseason, it feels like right when they're done making big signings, they make another move. You trade Tyler Glasnow, you sign Yamamoto, then you get Teoscar Hernandez. So you can never say never with this Dodgers team. Kenley Jansen is still out there. The Boston Red Sox, clearly they're not interested in being serious contenders this season. He's still owed $16 million to the Dodgers. Want to get back in the Kenley Jansen business? I'm not so sure they do, but I do believe the Dodgers are going to add another high leverage arm, another reliever, even if it's not before the season, at some point during the season. Ryan Brazier is another name we talked about last week, and Brazier, maybe you can get him at the right price if you're unable to hit on a Hader or some of these other guys that you're after. I still like the idea of going after a move with Bieber and Clase, and I've been talking about that for weeks now. I've heard that on a bunch of different shows now, right? But we've been talking about that for a pretty long time at this point. I still think that the Dodgers still have the prospects to get a deal done for any of the players that are out there. Now, I see people moaning and groaning, D-Mac, we traded Michael Busch for 2 prospects. What? I wanted an impact player. Well, one, they needed the roster spots. And because they've held on to some of these guys for so many years, they found themselves in a little bit of a roster crunch, and we still haven't received the official word on Teoscar Hernandez. We're still waiting on that official announcement. So you have that roster spot for Teoscar Hernandez, and now you have an extra roster spot. Is that for Clayton Kershaw, right? Is that for someone else that you're looking to sign? Is that for Ryan Brazier? So look, the reality is this team is in the market for impact players, for veterans, for guys who can help this team win the World Series next season. And the reality is Michael Busch was not going to do that for this team. They just did not have a spot for him. So if you're going to go out there and make a trade for other impact players that need those roster spots, I think you have to do a little more of a complicated deal, right? And just because Michael Busch is ranked as your number 2 prospect, that does not mean that other teams out there view him as the Dodgers' number 2 prospect, right? That is not how this game works. I've talked to numerous scouts out there, people from teams. If you listen to some of the players that they list from other organizations, it's very different than these top 10 lists, right? It is not apples to apples, right? You are seeing a very different viewpoint from different teams out there. And Michael Busch is a quality player. There's no doubt about that. But as far as his upside goes, yeah, he is a player that he's 26. And yes, the average age in AAA is around 26. So I do think that is overblown. But at the end of the day, there's other players in this organization that I think offer more upside than Michael Busch. And when you look at who they traded Michael Busch for, it's a very intriguing prospect. Now, who did the Dodgers get in exchange for Busch and Almonte? Well, the big get for them was Jackson Ferris. And Jackson Ferris, a left-handed starting pitcher. He's the Cubs' number 8 prospect according to MLB Pipeline. And still diving into Jackson Ferris, I'm actually going to try to get him on the show. But Baseball America had this to say about Ferris. Ferris is a tall, projectable left-hander with loud stuff. His fastball sits 93 to 95 miles per hour with explosive late life that overwhelms hitters in the strike zone. His plus 74 to 77 mile per hour curveball is a hammer for which he shows has great touch and feel. He expertly manipulates the shape and velocity of his curveball and is able to neutralize right-handed hitters with it. Ferris added a 79 to 81 mile per hour slider with power sweep in his first pro season and shows above average potential with it, though his execution is inconsistent. He rarely throws his average 85 to 87 mile per hour changeup. Ferris has plenty of stuff, but his complicated, contorted delivery yields below average control. He has a deep stab in the back. His arm is late at foot strike, and he finishes with a notable head whack. His arm action and command are below average, but his stuff is good enough to beat hitters even when he misses his spot. He held opponents to a 179 average in the Carolina League and allowed only 1 home run all season. It says about his future, Ferris has the stuff to be a mid-rotation starter, but he has to iron out his delivery to throw more strikes and last deeper into games. He'll head to High A South Bend in 2024. Scouting grades: a fastball 60, curveball 60, slider 55, changeup 50, control 40, and of course that's on the 20/80 grade scale. Shout out to my guy, Mr. Tim Rogers. So really what stands out to me from that scouting report is you talk about his potential as a mid-rotation starter, but also points out that you have to iron out his delivery to help him throw more strikes. Well, if there's any organization out there, it's the Los Angeles Dodgers that can help with his mechanics. You saw how they were able to smooth Bobby Miller's mechanics out. They improved Emmett Sheehan's. So he is someone that is going to benefit from being in this Dodgers organization. And I think there's a world where 20 years from now, we look back and Jackson Ferris ends up being the better player than Michael Busch. This to me screams 4D chess by Andrew Friedman and this Dodgers organization. Remember during the interview with Andrew Friedman when he told me that this system is designed for the Dodgers to not have a perennial top 5 farm system because the Dodgers win, right? And when you win a lot, you don't have as high of a draft pick. You don't have as much international bonus signing pool money, right? You can't go out there and continue to stockpile this organization. And with these trades, you're able to stash these guys. You don't have to have them take up a 40-man roster spot, and you can develop them. And hopefully one day, 1, he becomes a starting pitcher for the Dodgers, or 2, you can use him as a trade chip down the line when you're looking to improve this roster in 4 or 5 years, right? I mean, this is someone who's like 3 years away really from getting an opportunity, but I still think that this is a move that it's not the sexiest move on paper. It doesn't break the internet for the players you get in return or anything like that, but it is a great example of how this Dodgers team is continuing to be aggressive, and they want to win this season, and they're making big impact signings to win in 2024, but you are still keeping your eyes on 2024 and beyond, the sustainability of this franchise. And you do that by cashing in your chips for players that you don't have to have on that 40-man roster that you can develop that have high upside. And Jackson Ferris has a ton of upside, and they can absolutely develop that in this organization. I think one day you're going to hear his name, and it's going to be either as a starter or someone that they'll flip for a player that helps them contend years down the line, like we've seen this organization do. Remember, you traded for Josiah Gray. He was included in the trade for Scherzer and Trey Turner. Jeter Downs traded for Mookie Betts. So that's what this organization does. They're great at doing it. And how about the fact you got Ferris and Buehler on the same team in the same organization? I don't know if they're going to go steal the Ferrari and drive around Chicago and go to the parade and have all that fun, but still, I think this is a move that I like it because it tells me that this organization is making smart, sensible moves, and they still feel like they're going to go out there and sign a reliever, trade for a reliever, add another starting pitcher. I guarantee you that if this organization felt like Michael Busch was the only chip that they could use to trade for a Class A or a starting pitcher thereafter, that they wouldn't trade him. So this is absolutely a situation where you have to trust this Dodgers organization. How could you not, after what they pulled off, not only this offseason, but since Andrew Friedman has become the president of baseball operations? You get the big deals, you get the moves on the margins, and then you get the 4D chess type moves, and that is what this deal feels like. Now, we'll talk a little bit about Zyhir Hope. Not too much information on him as of yet. He's very young. He's 18 years old. Our friend over on Twitter, of course, you saw him on this show, Bruce Kuntz. You can follow him at BNicholas7. He tweeted out new Dodgers outfield prospect Zyhir Hope. 18 was 11th round pick of the Cubs in the 2023 draft. He signed for $400,000 and hit 3 homers in his first 11 rookie ball games. Big tools include speed, high EV, and is a potential helium kind of pickup. So that's what the Dodgers like. High EV, you hit the ball hard, toolsy, looks athletic, like his swing, has potential as well. So this is a move that, like I said, it won't knock your socks off for this upcoming season, but it's a move that I think we'll look back at years down the line and say, look, this is a patient move. This is a move that separates the Dodgers from other organizations because they can make the win now moves, and then they can also get the lottery ticket type players. And yes, these are 2 lottery ticket type players. Hopefully you scratch them off and you win big. And I think that they absolutely have that potential. And look, let's just be honest here. Can we just be happy for Michael Busch for a second? I mean, of course, you don't want to see him hit 4 home runs against the Dodgers or anything like that. But similar to when Zach McKinstry was traded to Chicago for Chris Martin a few seasons ago, I always feel good about certain players in this organization that just don't get their opportunities because of how stacked and loaded the Dodgers roster is. And I think Michael Busch is someone that's going to make the most of his opportunity. I think he's someone that's going to prove to stick in the show. I hear people out there saying he's a 4A player. Yeah, maybe he is. But I still believe in his talent because it's not that he just rakes, it's that he sees the ball well. And when you see the ball as well as Michael Busch, you're as hard of a worker as he is, you have the high character that he has, I think you got to bet on the player in that situation, and I think it's only a matter of time that he starts having success in this league, and I think it's a great situation for him to join the Chicago Cubs. And then Yency Almonte, look, I think I said a few weeks ago, I heard people use him in DFA talk. He was never going to get DFA'd, but as a trade piece, when you look at what they're trying to do with this bullpen, and you brought back a Joe Kell, you have Bruce Dart, you have Evan Phillips. The bullpen has a lot of quality arms. I think you could use another arm, maybe another lefty, maybe another high leverage guy. Both are potentially checked off with Josh Hader. But I think you could also see maybe an Alex Vesia trade too if they want to go that route. So I don't think that they're necessarily done trading away some of these pieces and bolstering this bullpen, because I think what we learned about this Dodgers bullpen a few years ago is, yeah, you can have guys that can have success in the regular season, but it's a whole different game in the postseason. And I think that more of a veteran-led bullpen with guys that have some experience, guys that are just straight up nasty, could bode well for what this team's trying to do, because the playoffs, the postseason is increasingly becoming a bullpen game. And You saw the same game that broke Yency Almonte. Just kidding, didn't break him, but the same game where Yency Almonte gave the big hit to Hassan Kim, Alex Vesia gives up that hit to Jake Cronenworth. And those are the kind of moments that are magnified, and it just kind of lets you know, do you have the heartbeat? Do you have the command to execute in those situations? And I think that I want to see a more veteran-led bullpen with some more postseason experience, because I don't know if I want to see a team that went out there and spent over $1 billion or committed over $1 billion to players have their World Series hopes and guys that you just can't trust. I need some more proven track records in that pen, because sometimes those series, it comes down to those crucial at-bats, those high-leverage situations. And I think right now the focus is adding another starting pitcher, a guy that can eat some innings potentially, and then also you go out there and get a bullpen piece. Because, look, Walker Buehler's on the pitch count. Emmett Sheehan, there's no guarantee he's just going to be able to slide into being a starting pitcher, right? He's someone who's still trying to establish himself, still trying to see what he can handle at this level. You also trade away Ryan Pepio, so the minor league starting pitching depth isn't as great as it's been. So go out there, get yourself a veteran. By the way, Shane Bieber, he agreed to a deal around $13 million with the Guardians. We'll keep our eyes on Shane Bieber and everything coming out of Cleveland in the next few weeks and months, because I still like the idea of bringing the UCSB Gaucho back to Southern California in a deal along with Class A, but the bullpen is incomplete as well. As far as my grade for this trade, I'm going to give this a B. I'm going to give this a B. I'm not going to give it an A, because that's just blind faith, right? The reality is we are not going to know how good or bad of a trade this was until years down the line. Not months, but years, plural. Maybe even 3 or 4 years. That's how long it's going to take to give this trade a legitimate, honest assessment. But hey, I still believe in this organization. I think that you should too. And I still like the idea of bringing in some prospects in for Michael Busch. You didn't have to go out there and use him for a big name, impact, big league pitcher, big league player, because you still have a lot of requisite talent to go out there and do just that. This farm system has enough trade chips to pull off any trade they were going to do before Michael Busch or after Michael Busch. That is the reality. So do not worry about that. There's still so much talent in this farm system that they can use to get the guys they want. But that's going to do it for this episode of Dodgers Dugout. My name is Doug McKain. My friends call me D-Mac. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMac_LA. A reminder that we will be back in studio next week. We moved studios. We got a new Dodgers Nation studio with a new background. We're debuting it next week, so be ready for those morning live shows. We are going to be back on Dodgers Dugout Live. And also another reminder to make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you can be eligible for that Shohei Ohtani number 17 jersey giveaway. All you have to do is be subscribed to the channel and comment done down below. And remember, nothing brings together quite like Dodger baseball. And until next time, think blue, bleed blue, and I'm out.